All right, my people. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I greet you. I greet you at your location time. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my page, Timo Starboy, Reality TikTok TV. So please join us. Join us now. We're about to start new update. Yeah, God will bless you. Please share our program. Share it million times. Let it go around because this one is fantastic program. Yeah, it's very educative. So as we ask a question, as you can see our title up there. So should the Nigeria court interpreting the law of forgery, in this case of Tinubu and Atiku, should they interfere? Should they interpreting again about forgery? When we already knew, it's so glaring and so crystal clear that forgery is a criminal. So should they interpreting it again for us? Because we already know, something that you already knew. So how can you be explaining on it again? So, and this is where we find ourselves. Nigeria, this is where we find ourselves. So I will drive you to Arise TV. Let me take you a ride to Arise TV. Yeah. So Ojinika Ojope, she will tell you what you need to know. So let's go. Let's go there. Okay. Here we go, my people.
What's trending.
Don't
On
forget,
Sunday, spokespersons of Nigeria's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar held a press conference in Abuja to address allegations of forgery levied against Atiku by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's spokespersons, some of who claimed that affidavits backing Atiku's change of name in 1973 from Sadiq Abubakar to Atiku Abubakar were forged because they were signed on a Saturday. Well, during the press conference, Crime.Should, Atiku's special assistant on communications, brought forth evidence of affidavits signed on a Saturday in the same year in 1973 and challenged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to respond in the same way to allegations of forgery and other allegations levied against him. Shaibu also asked the president to confide in Atiku instead of hiring a horde of media aides to confuse the issue.
As a practitioner of democracy, especially someone who sits on the chair of a president, he must live above board. A president must mirror the moral rectitude of trust and transparency. To be called the president of a country is to be an approximation of the values that such a country stands for. Nigeria does not stand for forgeries and impersonation. It is therefore on this note that we yet again call on President Bola A. Tinubu to follow the example of Atiku Abubakar, to clear the air about the doubts and kurukere about his past, just as we have done, openly, publicly, and we took the pains to go to Lagos, his own Lagos, where he ruled and superintended and has been lord over for over 23 years. Since Lagos is his domain, We ask Bola A. Tinubu to boldly walk into Government College Lagos and make available to the world, just as we have done today, a copy of the 1970 certificate with which he sought admission into the Chicago State University. He may as well tell us the business center inside Oluwole Market in Lagos, where the document, the certificate was printed and given to Chicago State University, or where that certificate was gotten from, which was presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission. And if assuming the president is afraid to come out clean, because we can only assume at this point that Bola A. Tinubu has some skeleton in his closet or his cupboard, he should feel free to confide in us. You don't need to have over 2,000 media aides for you to do your job well. We are just 3 of us here, yet we went to Lagos, Tinubu's Lagos, to investigate and put to rest the issue of Atiku's affidavit, which was signed on a Saturday. We took it upon ourselves to say, look, we must come out clean. We cannot be on the same page with a certificate forger.
Of course, you know, this press conference generated a lot of reactions. Exactly. I'll just take only one, Ayo, before I come to you. This person is Oluchi. She wrote, Atiku's media team went for the jugular today in the press conference. It was a knockout punch on the APC. Too much pepper demo. I mean, for me, I think
it's really knockout.
Frank Shaibu really went for the jugular there. I mean, he hit all the right notes, and I think it was important that he said that, you know, instead of going forward to block access to people knowing who you really are, just come out and talk about your identity, go to Lagos. Like he said, only 3 of them went to Lagos to find out, you know, and to present these documents, if we can pull up those documents, those affidavits, to show that Atiku Abubakar is the same person as Sadiq Abubakar, because if you recall, Atiku Abubakar had written WAEC in the name of Sadiq Abubakar, and then they said because the affidavit was signed on a Saturday, it was forged, but they have, you know, brought out these documents to show that those documents were also signed on Saturdays back in 1973. Ayo, your take.
Wow, okay. So first of all, I must say that the Kurukere was just so hilarious. But as that tweet had mentioned, absolutely true, in terms of the fact that Frank Shai, when I was saying it, that he has earned his pay, when he was speaking, that he gave a detailed response to what the APC had accused the Atiku Abubakar camp. But beyond the I won't call it mudslinging, but the back and forth between the parties. The matter is now in court. It's going to be heard today in court from at the Supreme Court. So it's going to be decided in court who is lying, whose certificate is false, whose certificate was forged or not, if the evidence will be admitted in court. But one of the things I want to say is this. As a nation, as a people, we have to begin to evaluate where we are in terms of our morality and the kind of nation that we're building. Because what happens often is that someone accuses or makes an allegation that you forged a certificate, and your response, rather than going to present evidence that you didn't do it, to put paid to the insult and to this grave allegation, you then begin to say, you too, you forged certificate. So it's now a battle of whose sin is bigger, as opposed to saying ridiculous. That actually I didn't do what you're accusing me of doing. And that is what we have seen a number of times. Yes. And perhaps it's time to begin to elevate our consciousness at the kind of leaders that we have, whereby response to an allegation is not a counter allegation, or saying I'm justified in quotes or implicitly making that statement I'm justified because you too, your hands are not clean either. The question on ground that was asked, as was presented by Mr. Frank Shaibu, has not yet been addressed. Rather than spending so much energy and time focusing on the fact that, well, you are not clean as well, just tell us, give us the documents, give us the evidence. That's all Nigerians and, the Atiku Abubakar camp are asking for. Yeah. So for me, the lesson out of this is more about the fact that when we talk about, this person has done badly, or there's a suspicion of this, like saying, OJ, you stole 10 naira, you stole, did you steal 10 naira? Or this outfit you're wearing, you stole it from whatever store you bought it.
Mine,
and you're like,
I'll give you the receipt, I'll show you the time data.
Exactly. And so my first response before saying that, oh, you too, your yellow dress is also stolen. He should say that this is my receipt. It is mine. That's all what we're asking for. Don't take people for granted. Don't abuse the intellect of Nigerians by saying that, oh, so let's stop this counter. Anyway, that in court now, which is the proper place to finally get justice. But beyond the court is, these things are easy. Right. We would have avoided all these processes. Absolutely. Show us evidence. That's all.
Rufai, really quickly, Frank Shaibu has asked Tinubu to, maybe seek advice from Atiku instead of hiring over 2,000 aides.
You see, one thing is clear.
Sorry, guys.
May God remind us where the rain started to beat us from. We have lost our bearing as a country. Nigeria has now become a country that is a circus, so much joke. The president of a country, his educational background is suspect. We are going to court to determine that. What else do we even want to know again? And other people that bring up the matter, the bandwagon is quick to also now say, oh, you too, you have a skeleton in your cupboard. I don't support anybody. Anybody that has skeleton, they should be able to bring down. But once the Atiku team has come out to the fore, the president too should be able to come out.
It would be nice to see, if you recall, Peter Obi had that same press conference stating the same thing. Just come out and
what is going on. But you see, we live in a world where some people are paid to gaslight Nigerians and to distract them. So please do not be distracted. And somebody gave an analogy. When you see people trying to turn the issue around and gaslight, just like how some people said public opinion does not count. Somebody gave an analogy, say, see, when another bird called, I think, a crow, comes on the back of the eagle to attack the eagle, you know what the eagle does? The eagle doesn't fight back. The eagle continues to fly at a higher altitude. So when it gets to that altitude, the owl doesn't have the capacity to get in oxygen to relate with the eagle at that point, so it dies off. So once people start this gaslighting conversation, insist on the most important conversation, because the president is the president now. Right. So he needs to be able to tell us the truth. And don't waste your time replying to these gaslighting conversations. Once it's been clarified, yes, like I said before, Atiku Abubakar and other candidates have a right to be able to respond to the man. Once they clarified, stop responding to people that try to gaslight, because distractors are trying to detract you away from the issue. It doesn't stop the issue that it is sad for Nigeria that we have to go to court to even determine the certificate our president presented. All
right, Rufai. In another development, the Nigerian Senate and a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Attahiru Jega, during a 2-day retreat organized for senators in Akwa Ibom State, called for the amendment of the electoral laws to ensure mandatory transmission of election results and the unbundling of INEC, as well as diaspora voting. During the retreat, Attahiru Jega insisted that the chairman of INEC should not be appointed by the President of Nigeria, but by a joint committee of the National Assembly, who will then be subjected to public scrutiny with regards to knowledge, skills, good character, and non-partisanship. Jega also argued that all election cases should be resolved by the courts before the swearing in of the winners. Well, let's take some reactions. This person wrote, but Jega conducted the 2015 election where a lot of underage voters voted in Kano and presented the about 2-something edge that made Jonathan to call and congratulate Buhari. He only got off the hook because Jonathan didn't contest the results. He started what Mahmoud perfected. Well, another person there wrote, the Senate has 109 members. How many times have they honestly allowed their own votes to count since 1999? How many times did they use electronic voting? It has always been the ayes have it. Even when the nays are louder, they aren't ready for transparency. don't be deceived. Kayode, before I come to you, though, in the same vein, a former Rivers State governor and the immediate past Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, who was speaking at the Nigerian Law School in a video now making the rounds on social media, clarified issues on the first election that brought him into the gubernatorial office. Let's take a look.
The first thing is to say, you can't remove the person you have submitted without cogent and verifiable. Therefore, the person was given security reasons. I was rather an armed robber. I've got the fan people by any call. And the person submitted to INEC to say it was what? Security. So people say to them, if you say there is no independent candidate, and it is independent candidate in the country, and our job is to decide who is the candidate of PDP, right? The moment we say this is the candidate of PDP, since nobody runs the election without the party, it means that the party is better than runs the election. If you say this is the candidate of the party, it means that it's what? The governor. God bless you.
Well, it's nice to see the former governor there give his own side of the story, more importantly, at the law school. But Atahiru Jega hit the right notes there, as well as the senators during that retreat. It is something that we've always talked about, the fact that, those cases we should make sure that those cases are heard before the winners are announced. I loved also the fact that they touched on diaspora voting, very important.
That one is important for me because I spent about 20 years, and I was one of those who in the UK was pushing that diasporans should have a right to vote and we should be encouraged. Well, I'm not there anymore. I'm in Nigeria now, but while I was there, we pushed aggressively. And I must mention the fact that no matter what anybody says about Honorable Abike Dabiri, she was strongly in support, and she's being consistent about the support for diaspora to be able to vote. The money that comes into Nigeria, we know how much is coming into Nigeria from the diaspora. Everybody should be able to acknowledge the fact that if you're putting in that much in terms of investment into Nigeria, then you should have a right to have a say in how the future of the nation is shaped. The key thing here in terms of Atahiru Jega's statement is the fact that we have to overhaul the entire voting system in Nigeria. There is a need for a complete overhaul and a change in the policy that would compel INEC to do the right thing. On this last election, INEC failed every Nigerian. INEC failed every Nigerian on so many, in so many areas. So there's a need for that overhauling. And then also one of the things that crossed my mind on this particular issue is in terms of the person who heads INEC should not be the person that the president wants. It should be an open opportunity for Nigerians of quality character who will not be listening to whatever the president says and who will not be in that situation where even the president's body language determines what they will do. It seemed like Atahiru Jega was looking at the body language of Buhari and possibly the person who eventually becomes the president. That is wrong. That should never have happened, because a man like Mahmoud Yakubu should not be in a situation where he made a promise to Nigerians that this is what you will see as the results are being announced in real time, to quote him, because I watched that video so many times. In real time, you will see it. And if Nigerians had seen it in real time, all of this argument would never have happened. There will be no argument about the results. We'll see it in real time. Exactly. And that will make it a lot easy. And I don't know why he is not able to defend that position.
Well said. We'll take another story then. Over the weekend, a 50,000-man rally in support of Palestine was held in Lagos to demand justice for the people of Palestine and put an end to the continued bombardment of